Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man is signing black in again. We know that what they say oftentimes is that they like for a man to be persistent. And then that becomes the creep when he's not her type. Her type does not have to be persistent. That's the whole point. So when they say they want someone to be persistent, what they want is to be chased by their own type while acting like they don't really like him so that he'll be persistent. That's really what that means. That right there is illogical. Why would her type even have to be persistent? Her type will not have to be persistent with her or with others. That was something that was told specifically for a time like this. Now, this means that in the conscious and subconscious minds of the Wicked Witch of the West, this scenario was planned for. Not very well, but it was planned for. The scenario for which they planned was this one. Some of them knowingly, some of them unknowingly. That's why I got one of those, hey, messages and a friend request. The reason I got that was because she was planning. She was, and I cannot remember her at all. She's taken photographs with friends of mine. She's friends with friends, so she probably did meet me, but I cannot remember her, which means we didn't hang out. That means that we didn't pay each other much attention. So how can she remember me? The only way she could have is if she filed me away in her mind. And I would have been one of those guys she would have told, oh, be persistent if you like somebody. That would have been good for her. She's just one example. Gentlemen, all of them, when they say be persistent, that's just advice that's good for them, not for you. It's not good for you to get the draws. And the thing you have to understand is that they almost never give you advice that's good for you to get inside them walls. Not even if you married them. If you take the advice they give you and you get married, you still will not get them walls a lot. And I'm all for marital sex, but you got to marry the one that is attracted to you and to whom you're attracted. But getting back to this, I want you to understand the flip side of that advice. What happens when you're not entitled? When you're not entitled, then they say you're pathetic and you lost by default because you didn't try. This is a catch-22. Any man that does not tell you it is a catch-22, at least, is your enemy. If he's not naive. Now, if he's young and naive and doesn't know himself, he's not lying to you. He was just brainwashed. But a man that's old is supposed to give you advice and does not tell you that it is a catch-22 is an enemy. We have to see it like this. They don't want to be caught, but they do. That right there is a quandary. That right there is a first catch-22. That is an artificial paradox. It's not even possible for that to be real. Which one do they want? But yet and still they found a way to make that impossible just for the sake of making sure that you have some headache to go through before you get them walls. That's it. There is nothing else to it. Their only motivation is difficulty, to be difficult for you. When you go abroad, you find, you leave the West, you find it, that's not their only motivation. It may be to keep you, but not to torment you. But when you're in the West, you find that they're only, if you think about it, they don't have any other motivation behind their actions. When you investigate anything and you investigate a crime, one of the things you have to understand is the motive. And if it is a random target selection, you still have to understand the motive and how they chose the targets. In this case, it's simple. The only motivation is to get your resources and to give you a headache. Nothing else. And then there are a few guys whose resource is their DNA, and that's what they want. Most of us aren't those guys, and that's not our fault. If more of us were those guys, they would still find another way, another criteria by which to eliminate 86% of us again. When you are entitled, of course, understand what that means when they say that. It just means you're not their type, but you're trying. But when you are not entitled, when you're not entitled, then they're going to say you're not trying hard enough, even when you're not that type. So, gentlemen, it's a catch-22. And if you don't believe that it is a catch-22, either you're just the one for whom they're not giving these mixed signals, and rather you're just getting choosing signals, or you can find out by comparing their behavior before and then after the pandemic, and then looking at it again after the pandemic. Now, for those who like to trick, I understand that they're saying, "Hey, the price is dropping." That the draws the draws are now a lot less expensive to buy, to purchase. Okay, and sure, that's true. I would imagine so, because there's so many of you saying the same thing. But by the same token, I want you to keep in mind, when this pandemic is over, if she knows your name and where you live, she was very reluctant to negotiate a price that low. Understand that when this thing is over and things go back to what they were, if they do, she's going to withdraw consent retroactively, and it's yo ass, because you were persistent. You were entitled. How dare he use this to coerce me into giving it up for less than what I wanted to give it up for? He didn't even have a headache. He wasn't even worried about that amount of money. That's really what it comes down to. He's not worried about that amount of money. It was too easy for him, but he's not Chad Roan enough. He's not alpha enough to justify this. My friends wouldn't want him. That's what it comes down to. So guys, when you're tricking now, keep in mind that as soon as this thing is over, make sure she does not know your name and where you live. And if you are doing this with someone that used to be a hell of a lot more expensive, but she knows your name and where you live, and then now you're getting it for a much lower price, understand that it's already too late for you. When this is over, she's coming for you. If she can't do it legally, she's coming for you socially. That's what it's going to boil down to. Or she's going to get in trouble with somebody else and then bring you down. Whether legally, she'll bring you down legally, or socially, she'll bring you down socially. However she gets in trouble, she's going to bring you along with her, because she can't just go through it by herself. Well, I didn't have my job stopped and I had no way to make rent, so I had to. Yeah, I know. But she's not going to sit up and say, well, all of her gender in the West acted psychotically, really. But you still had to bust that nut. They're not going to say that. They're going to say all of these men were doing the same thing, taking advantage. So I couldn't raise my price and dismiss him. Officer or Mr. Reporter, this is his name, this is his address. Understand that, gentlemen. Yeah. I mean, if you tricked and you took advantage of the low prices, then the only way you're going to not really go through a backlash for it later on is, one, if this thing never stops, or two, if you only did that with those who don't know your name and don't know where you live. And if they know your phone number, I'm going to tell you straight up, if they know your phone number, you're going to have to change your number. Get rid of the old number and get a new one. That's what you're going to have to do. All right. Time for me to get ready to go to work. And this non-Western nation where fortunately they have been able to stop its spread and level it off and keep it at bay. The blackest of the black sign a black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual male power just because they don't like it.